Did you know that streets were built for drivers and their automobiles and not for pedestrians? So before you cross the street, shouldn't you make sure that drivers see you and that all cars come to a stop? To help you cross safely, streets carry certain signs and signals with messages for both you and the driver. Some of the signs you see in your city will be changed so that one day signs everywhere will be the same. Some signs are painted on the street. Some have no words at all, like a crosswalk. Do you always cross in a crosswalk or at a corner? You should, because if you cross in the middle of the block, a driver isn't expecting to see you and may not have time to stop. It's safer to cross the street where there is a crosswalk and a traffic signal. But even then, as you are crossing, keep looking for other cars. All drivers must stop, and so must you when the traffic light is yellow or red. Or the signal says, "Don't walk." A driver doesn't want to hit you, and you can help him not to by making sure he sees you and can stop. Signs do not stop cars, drivers do. And they sometimes make mistakes, just as you and I do. A driver may not see a stop sign or a red light. So it's up to you to make sure he has stopped before you step off the curb, and to keep looking for other cars that may be coming. Signs tell drivers they are coming to a school and should look for pedestrians. Have you noticed that signs have different shapes as well as colors? The stop sign has 8 sides and is red. It tells drivers to make a complete stop. This sign, warning drivers of pedestrians, is yellow and is shaped like a diamond. The new school signs are yellow and have 5 sides. This sign tells you that you must never cross here. But you can cross here if you push the button and wait for a green light or a walk sign. Sometimes it takes a little while for the light to change, so wait. Here's another warning sign. It tells the driver the road will be slippery when it is raining. Bad weather, such as rain, or snow, or fog, makes driving very difficult. A driver cannot see as well, nor stop as easily in bad weather or at night. So you must give the driver more time to see you and stop before you cross the street. Do you know how difficult it is to stop? Cars can't stop immediately, like this. The driver must first see you, put a foot on the brake, slow down, and stop. Just like when you're running. When you run, you can't stop like this. You must first slow down and then stop. So if a car is coming very fast, shouldn't you wait until he goes by before you cross? You may have the right of way, but cars are bigger than people and can injure them. Sometimes a corner does not have a painted crosswalk. Now you must be very careful that there are no cars coming from any direction. Or that drivers in all cars see you and stop before you cross the street. And remember, keep looking for other cars as you cross. But it is much better to find a corner with a crosswalk and a school guard or a policeman to help make sure it's safe to cross the street. So when you are going to school, coming home, shopping, or just playing, you know now that it's always best to obey the signs and signals. Cross in crosswalks quickly, but don't run. Be sure the drivers see you and that they stop before you cross. Remember, it's up to you. Watch these children. Some of them are making mistakes. Some of them are not. What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? Let's talk about it.
Oopsie, hit the wrong button. Hi, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to our lunchtime AV Geeks streaming show. That was, wow, I don't have enough coffee. Pedestrian Signs and Signals by, yeah, I'm just not, I'll be honest with you. So yesterday was my birthday. Thank you so much for your birthday wishes and for buying me coffee. It's not my birthday now, so I should change this thing that says here. Anyways, so I stayed up late last night hanging out with some friends, socially distanced on the porch, and I made fair food with my air fryer. So I made buffalo wings and fried fried Oreos, fried Snickers, cheese curds, tater tots, and we drank. So I'm a little hungover, probably more from the fried food than the beer that I had. So I apologize for not being as sharp as I normally am. Anyways, Higgins. Higgins is what made that film. That's what I had to do, is kind of pull myself out. Yeah, so we watched old 16mm films. And thanks for those of you that tuned in yesterday and indulged me in watching Jim Henson's The Cube. Even though YouTube was like, nope, you can't show that. But those that switched over to Twitch or Facebook or Twitter, hopefully you enjoyed it. It's an hour long, and it's a challenging, frustrating film, but I very much love it, and it just adds to my respect for Jim Henson. But today we're just going to get back to where we are normal, and this next film is part of the Cornet series on working on in an office, and this one is Office Practice, Your Attitude.
Going to work. A custom shared by millions almost every day. Some enjoy it, some don't. Satisfaction with a job, even success in a job, depends heavily on a simple thing called attitude. A wrong attitude can prevent anyone from doing his best. But a good attitude lets you look forward to going to work. And it lets you do a better job. Joan Monroe, a bright young secretary, is a good example. She realizes that her attitude toward herself will influence impressions she makes on others. And she knows that her attitude toward her job will determine the kind of work she does. Joan has the right attitude. She'll go far in her career and in life.
Oh, good morning. Thank you. Good morning. I'll see you at lunch, Leon, okay?
Like everyone, Joan's attitude shows. The way she feels about herself and others is reflected in her smile, in the way she dresses, in her posture. Careful grooming is a courtesy to others. It shows that you care enough about other people to try to make a good impression of them.
Well, good morning, Joan.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Kramer.
I'm glad you're here early this morning. We've got a big day, you know.
I know.
And while your attitude is in your own mind, it's difficult to hide. Attitude shows in the way you speak, even in the way you listen.
Yes, sir. I'll bring it right in.
Being a little early helps, too. It gives you sort of a head start on the day. And let's face it, it makes a good impression on the boss. What's more important, it gives him confidence in you. And your co-workers know that you're prompt and dependable.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning.
Kathy Johnson, a girl who has been with the firm for a short time, still has some things to learn. When she first came to work, she was usually late. She seemed totally unorganized.
Good morning, Kathy. Good
But
morning,
her attitude was good. She wanted to become more effective in her job. She began watching some of the other people in the office. and she learned. Everyone in the office could see that Kathy was really trying. Her attitude was clear, and people seemed glad to help her solve her problems. As a result, Kathy was given more to do. Her responsibilities were increased. Her job is scheduling and billing, a very important part of the agency's business.
Kathy, this is Mr. Sakuda. He's brought our new machine.
Oh, great.
Nice to see you.
I knew you'd be pleased. He'll show you how it's used.
Kathy's ability to learn new things quickly was important to the company. Also, it was Kathy who suggested the new machine.
That'll be
She had seen a brochure on it, and she talked to her supervisor about it. She took the initiative, but she wasn't pushy. She studied the facts, and she presented her ideas to her supervisors.
It's the very latest thing on the market.
I turned it on.
Good mechanisms
Can you
here.
show me how to divide? Now, what is this for? Do you know yet?
That's your calculator.
Okay. Oh, I just love that.
Hit it again, and it clears.
Because of Kathy's attitude, they listened to her and accepted her suggestions.
Items like that, too. And then develop.
We enjoyed meeting with you last week.
Joan is the secretary for Mr. Kramer, a key executive with the
I
company.
feel that we can meet upon a satisfying and mutual agreement.
Their
that we
attitude
can
towards each
develop
other
a
is vitally important to their relationship
that we can
and the success of the company. If she resented his authority, if he didn't respect her secretarial skills,
move forward.
they would fail. Joan's attitude is that she wants to please Mr. Kramer. To do this, she tries to show him that she is dependable, efficient, always loyal.
I guess that'll be all for now.
Fine. I'll have these letters for you just after lunch.
Thank you. Oh, I almost forgot. I've revised this report, and I'll need to have it retyped. I must get it in tonight's mail.
I'll have it for you, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry about the mistake. What do you use now?
When your supervisors and coworkers know they can depend on you, probably your responsibilities will continue to grow.
Okay. You're welcome.
If you can develop an attitude which lets you tackle each new assignment with enthusiasm, probably the rewards will grow too.
Are you still at it?
Yes, this report has to go out in tonight's mail.
Will you be late?
Just a little.
Well, see you tomorrow.
Okay, goodbye.
At times, increased responsibilities mean more pressure, even longer hours. This can mean that you have to make adjustments in your plans. But a consistent positive attitude lets you meet all challenges with confidence. Your attitude always shows. It shows in your grooming, in the way you dress, in your posture.
See you at lunch, Leona.
Okay.
It shows in the way you speak.
Well, good morning, Joan.
Good morning, Mr. Kramer.
Kathy, this is Mr. Takuda. He's brought our new machine.
Your attitude shows in the way you listen, by the questions you ask, and it shows in the way you use your own initiative.
Is there any questions, Steve?
Mr. Kramer, here's the
Oh,
report.
yes, thank you,
want
Joan.
it?
Appreciate it. Thank you very kindly. Good.
Attitude is a personal thing. It's a matter of getting along with people, your superiors, your co-workers, and yourself.
Will there be anything else, Mr. Kramer?
No, that'll be all for today, gentlemen. And I'll get this to the mailroom on my way out.
Good. Good night.
Good night, and thanks. Good night.
So I just realized that I cut off pedestrian signs and signals too early. When we last left that film, we saw please stop the projector, leave sound turned on. The reason why is because the teacher would then talk and discuss with the class and then start watching it again. So that's what we're going to do. Here we go.
Are all these children crossing correctly? What do you think? Let's talk about it. And these children? Are they crossing safely? How would you cross? Let's talk about it.
So, the point of almost all these educational films is that at the end, the teacher has a discussion with the class about what they just saw, or they do activities based on what they just saw. This one's forcing the hand a little bit, saying like, you know what? This is only going to work if you have this discussion with your class. So, it's kind of interesting. All right, what do we got? What is money? Really, when we get down to it, what is money? Cornet Films will explain it to us.
$2.98. That's how much money it will take to buy a gallon of paint. It's Friday morning and Tom Havens is to buy the paint after school today. To make the purchase, his father gives him a $5 bill, a crisp, new $5 bill that he received at the bank yesterday. This particular piece of money is just starting in circulation. What will happen to it? What will it be used for? What can money be used for? What is money, anyway? After school, the $5 bill goes to a hardware store where Tom uses it to buy the paint. This is one of the most common ways in which we all use money, as a medium of exchange for goods. Tom exchanges a certain amount of money for a gallon of paint. The clerk naturally accepts the money, and he gives Tom a smaller amount of money in change. And so the $5 bill has found its way into this cash register. But it doesn't stay long. It's going to be used to pay Mr. Kelly, an electrician, for work he has just done in the store. The store is not paying for wire or fixtures, but for the electrician's special services. This is another use for money, as a medium of exchange for services as well as for good. The $5 bill is moving fast. That's because it's so convenient to use in business transactions. In fact, it's hard to imagine doing business without money. Yet for thousands of years, people did get along without money. In primitive days, living was simple and each family produced whatever it needed. The first kind of business was barter. A good stone cutter, for instance, might make a few extra tools and simply trade them for furs and other things he wanted. It was easy. There was no need for money. Even today, barter has its place. Not long ago, Tom Havens got a spotlight for his bike by trading a catcher's mitt for it. Swapping like this works well between friends. But what would you trade in a hardware store for a gallon of paint? And how would the store owner get the paint and the other goods he sells? What could he trade with all the people who had a hand in transporting the goods to his store? What could he possibly swap with all the stockholders of the hundreds of factories that produced the goods? How could he barter with every individual workman who played a part in the manufacture of each article? No, life today is too complex. People are too dependent upon each other. Jobs are too highly specialized for us to do business by barter. And that's why we depend on money as a quick and easy medium of exchange. Thus, instead of doing a certain amount of electrical work in exchange for gasoline, Mr. Kelly pays for the gas with, yes, the same $5 bill he received at the hardware store. This convenience of modern money has evolved from an age-old search for a satisfactory medium of exchange. Out of the simple barter of primitive people, spearheads became one of the first articles used as money. Shells have also served as money. Wampum was used by the American Indians. And hundreds of other articles have been money to various people at various times. But none of these met all the requirements of good money. Money should be something of value. Yet who but a huntsman has any use for spearheads? The value should be obvious and uniform. Who but an expert knows what this fur pelt is worth? Money should be easy to carry about. Metal rods certainly aren't. Money should be divisible. How do you make change when the price is half a cow? Money should be durable. Too much salt money got caught in the rain. Out of such trying experiences, gold and silver emerged as the most durable, most convenient, most satisfactory money. For greater convenience, men started silver coins with values imprinted on them. Later, governments took over the exclusive function of coining money. Because unscrupulous men began to cover cheap metal discs with gold and silver plating. So today in the United States, any money is counterfeit and so worthless unless issued by the federal government. And anyone who knowingly tries to spend counterfeit money may be fined a large amount and sent to jail. The coins we use are made in one of the 3 mints of the United States Treasury, located in San Francisco, Denver, and Philadelphia. And from the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in Washington comes our paper money, including, of course, the $5 bill of this story. This represents the final stage in the evolution of modern money. For while metal coins are handy for dealing in small amounts of money, when transactions require larger amounts, paper money is far more practical. A $5 bill, for example, is much easier to handle than, say, $5 in dimes. And just imagine buying something that costs $100 and paying for it with 10,000 cents. So the values of the money we use every day are the values fixed by the government. The paper bills and even the coins are not in themselves actually worth the amounts they represent. Their face values, however, are guaranteed not only by huge reserves of gold and silver, but by the stability of the government, which fixed those values. As long as people remain confident that our government is strong and secure, they will continue freely to accept and spend its money without questioning the value. as they have done with our $5 bill, which is now about to move again, because Mrs. Moore has come a check. A check is not money. It is one kind of substitute for money. Its value is guaranteed not by the government, but by the person who signs it. Since the man at the filling station knows Mrs. Moore, he is willing to take her word that she has enough money in the bank to make the check good, so he cashes it for her. Saturday morning finds the $5 bill still in Mrs. Moore's purse. How will she use it?
Good morning. May I help you?
Yes. Can you tell me the price of those bookends in the window?
Yes, that pair is $8.75, and most attractive.
I'm afraid that's more than I care to spend. Do you have a cheaper pair?
I do have one pair left that's an exceptional value. It's really worth $6.50, but it's on sale at just $5.
I'll take them, please. They're very good looking and certainly worth $5.
Worth $5. Yes, since the value of our money is fixed by the government, we use it as a standard for measuring other values. So money is not only a medium of exchange, but also a standard of value. At 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the $5 bill is transferred from the cash register in the gift shop to the pay envelope of Virginia Height, the clerk who sold Mrs. Moore the bookends. And when Miss Height goes to spend the bill, she learns how money serves still another purpose.
Hello. Do you want to make another payment on your radio?
Well, yes. But I see the price has gone up since I bought it.
Well, don't worry about that. You have to pay only the original price of $30.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Your balance is just $15.
I was so sure the price when I bought it was only $30.
So we see how money serves as a standard for future payments, a yardstick by which we measure the value of anything bought or sold to be paid for in the future. But what of the $5 bill? Soon its adventures take a strange turn. This radio shop is where Tom Havens works after school and on Saturdays. And when he's finished his work for the week, he gets a $5 bill. As we have seen, it could be the same $5 bill his father gave him to buy the paint. And where did his father get it? From the bank, and it's going back there. Tom deposits the $5 bill in his savings account. He deposits his money every week, storing it up for his future needs. This way, he's using money as a storehouse of value. Thus, our $5 bill has completed one round trip from the bank and back. Tom first used it as a medium of exchange for goods. Mr. Kelly received it as a medium of exchange for services. It was convenient for him to carry around and use for any business transaction. And no one ever questioned that it was worth $5 because its value has been fixed and guaranteed by the government. When Mrs. Moore made her purchase, she used money as a standard of value. And Miss Height found that money is also a standard of future payments. When the bill returned to Tom, he used it as a storehouse of value. Now it's back in the bank, but it will pass through many, many more hands before it is worn out and withdrawn from circulation. It may even go along with some world traveler who will soon exchange it for an equal value of money of some other nation. For modern money, convenient to use, easy to recognize, and universally accepted for the value fixed by a stable government, it is money which makes possible our complex international society of business, trade, and travel.
All right, so I could make a claim that the idea of Reagan's trickle-down economics didn't work because getting money to the upper classes does not trickle down to the lower classes in a way that's meaningful. In fact, what happens is they would invest the money and make it more difficult for the people in the lower tiers to survive. Whereas if you give the money to lower classes, they're more likely to circulate it through the economy as opposed to storing it away or investing off-site in other countries. All right, that's enough of my soapbox. This next film is awesome. It has a really amazing countdown, so I have that kind of set up here. And it's because it's from Japan. And I have not seen this film, so this is... I love the fact that I'm watching these films with you guys for the first time, so this is really fun. So this is Praying Mantis.
Autumn. Nearly all the leaves have fallen. High in the trees, something has built round nests that are attached to twigs and branches. Those aren't birds' nests. They're sealed shut. There's no opening for a bird to fly in or out. These are the nests of an insect, the praying mantis. The nests, held in place with sticky liquid from the mother mantis, are closed for the winter. Inside each are many eggs. When spring returns, flowers appear all over the meadow. The praying mantis nest now starts to show signs of life. Those may look like fish or eels, but they're actually baby mantises coming out of eggs that have hatched inside the nest. In very little time, the shape of the young mantis changes. Its eyes bulge from its head, which now has 3 sides, like an adult mantis. Antennae or feelers appear, and legs. Its body is growing into a long, straight, narrow rod, the shape it will keep for the rest of its life. At first, they hang every which way, dozens of them, in a thick cluster outside the nest. but soon they begin to move apart from each other. They hold their front legs up as though they're praying. That's where they get the name praying mantis. Like children in school, they line up on a twig, one behind the other. At this stage, they're smaller than your thumb. Before long, each baby moves completely away from his brothers and sisters. He will never rejoin them. He'll remain alone from now on. By the time summer arrives, he's grown as big as your hand and has become one of the greediest insects in the meadow. See those little hooks on his front legs? He uses them to grab insects, one after another. When they're stuck on those hooks, they can't get away. The mantis is always hungry. His small but powerful mouth parts are made for biting. Here he's caught a caterpillar that was chewing the leaves of plants. The mantis is so greedy, he can eat for hours without stopping. But he does destroy many harmful insects, such as caterpillars and grasshoppers, that eat plants. And he's a master of disguise. Can you see him? He looks just like another leaf in the meadow. His victims have difficulty seeing him too. He can sneak up on them unnoticed. By late summer, the mantis has become a full-grown adult. You have to look really hard to see him. Here he comes. And there he goes, climbing up at the left. Wouldn't you mistake him for a leaf? Now, long wings have formed alongside his body. Those hooks on his front legs are bigger and stronger than ever. His body is streamlined, long and narrow. His wings cover half his body. He has compound eyes, large eyes made up of many smaller eyes that help him spot an insect he'd like to eat, as well as spot an enemy, even another mantis that would like to eat him. His head, you see, has 3 sides, a perfect triangle. He waves his feelers. He senses something. Look at his mouth parts moving. Uh-oh, here comes a grasshopper, one of the favorite foods of the mantis. And the mantis sees it. He begins sneaking up on the grasshopper. The grasshopper seems not to know that the praying mantis is only inches away and watching its every move. The unsuspecting grasshopper leaps. but not to safety. A second grasshopper approaches and is caught. Now the mantis watches carefully as still a third grasshopper approaches. But this grasshopper's antennae sense the mantis ahead. And it gets away. Oh well, 2 out of 3, that's not bad. And you may be sure the mantis won't wait long for his next meal. Days are growing cooler now. Autumn is approaching. For the male mantis, there is little change. But soon, mother mantises will crawl away to nearby shrubs and trees where they'll begin making nests, just as their mothers did before them. No one will show them how to do it. They'll simply know how. Something called instinct shows them the way. Inside her nest, each mother will lay many eggs that will remain undisturbed for the winter. But next spring, those eggs will hatch. Baby mantises will come crawling out and begin the cycle all over.
So what I wonder is that this came from Japan, obviously was translated. The fact that they call a couple of times they call the mantis a greedy mantis is interesting to me because, and is that from a Japanese, is there some sort of reasoning behind that? Because you don't, in other animal films, and I have quite a few, they don't talk about animals being greedy and eating. I mean, they don't certainly share their food with other animals in most cases, but they're never really called greedy. So it's funny that term was used. And it wouldn't be one that I would say, I would say voracious, I would say, other things, but to say greedy is really kind of interesting. So there you go. This next film is awesome. It is part of a series that was made in the late 40s, and it's really trying to help couples who are married or about to be married to try to have them work through personality clashes and different things. Because what was happening after World War II, there were a lot of marriages that happened just during World War II, before World War II, kind of like, oh, I'm going off, so let's get married. And some of them were not thought through as well. So there was the divorce rate was climbing after World War II. And so this is a film that's trying to address that. And it's pretty awesome. So especially the description of both the husband and the wife at the beginning is really, really, if you just take those out of context, it's glorious. So here we go. Who's right?
Spoiled, selfish, self-centered. This woman believes the sun should rise and set according to her needs. Her uncontrollable temper flares up at the slightest imagined provocation. Heartless, scheming, always ready to attack the unsuspecting male. Her weapons are her looks, her personality, her youth. Deadly, mortal weapons which never cease to fascinate her. She spends most of her time and thought keeping in fighting trim. Her vanity is beyond belief.
This is the only person in the world she really loves. Everyone else is either an admirer or a slave. She's a megalomaniac. She's a gold digger. Or so she seems to her husband, Frank Carson, who is a tyrant of medieval mold. Power-hungry, domineering, dominating, he lusts for control of other people, forever seeking subjects to his stubborn, iron will. He's arrogant, cocksure, the world's foremost authority on everything, from driving a car to starting a fire, from playing a bridge hand to cooking a steak. At the office all day, according to him, he's a tiger. At home, he must play the royal lion, subjugating one and all to his inspired rule. There is no way but his way. Everything he disagrees with must be changed. No one else can ever be right. Or so it seems to his wife, Honey Carson.
Gold digger. All I'm trying to do is make the house livable. Make myself look human. Make the meals eatable with that little bit of money we have. He must think I can run the house and dress myself for nothing per month. That's what he'd like anyway. He must be crazy. How does he even dare mention money around me? He knows I haven't a thing to wear. I had most of these dresses before we got married. All my exotic scents. One miserable bottle of French perfume he gave me for Christmas a year ago. Cologne from the 10-cent store, and a home permanent kit. If I spent just half the money on perfume that he throws away on those silly pipes he never smokes, he'd blow up. And here's my collection of imported and domestic footwear. Those pumps I bought 3 years ago for that weekend at the university. This pair has been resold twice. Fabulous Carson jewels, gold wash and glass stones. A collection that would delight the heart of any girl less than 10 years old. If diamonds are a girl's best friend, I'm sure alone in this world.
Power mad, she calls me. She's so wrong, it's funny. I'm just a slave around here. Work all day earning the money to keep things going and bring it back so she can spend it. We do what she wants to do, see who she wants to see, buy what she wants to buy. I haven't been out for an evening of poker with the boys in 16 months. The 5 while I was going with her, and the 11 since we've been married. After the workday, I'm supposed to help around the house. I've practically got 2 full-time jobs. And what does she do? Runs around all day with her friends buying things. And when she gets tired, goes and sits under a hairdryer in the beauty shop to rest. It sure must be tough. Every single piece of this furniture is something she picked out. She liked. She saw in a magazine. She wanted. She. So of course there isn't a decent chair in the house I can read in, or a lamp a man can see the time by. Well, I've had enough. It's time I started doing what I want. There, that'll fix up her furniture. Frank Carson, his mark. It's a good thing she can't see this, or there'd be more trouble.
In other words, young Mr. and Mrs. Carson are at it again. Another one of those bitter fights that are tending to become a habit in this, the 11th month of their marriage. Why? They don't know themselves. These squabbles seem to grow out of nothing. Take tonight, for instance. Honey was in a fairly good mood as she waited for Frank to come home at 6 o'clock. Her day hadn't been very exciting, but then neither had there been any serious disasters. An ordinary, routine, domestic day. And an ordinary evening, for it was 6:30 by the time Frank arrived. His usual half hour late. Honey didn't really mind his being late. She was used to it by now. But tonight he seemed more preoccupied than usual. He was home in body, but not in spirit. His hello was mumbled, formal, disinterested. He hardly noticed her. One might have thought he'd stopped into a restaurant for supper, complaining all the time about what a hard day he'd had. Fine way for an evening to begin. Hard day indeed. And what about her day? Shopping, washing, cleaning, and now his supper. Is this what she'd been getting ready for since 5 o'clock?
Yep, I practically took over for the whole sales department today. At the monthly staff meeting, you know. Ed was away, so I went in. Right at the same table with the old man and all the rest of them. Clark and Simpson and Reber.
Now eat your soup while it's hot. Who's Reber?
Oh, I've told you a million times. He handles research, development, and personnel. Wears 2 hats. Does a pretty good job. Eat it while it's hot. Why didn't you tell me it's boiling?
Maybe it's so hot because I've warmed it over about 5 times.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let me tell you about this meeting. It was really interesting being in there and talking it over with the big boys. Mr. O'Connell himself said that some of my ideas were good.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, the first part of it was pretty dull. The old man gave everybody a sort of pep talk about how we really had to put on the steam to get up over the last quarter. And then Clark made his report on production. Said that we'd have the new model in about a month.
A month?
That's what Clark said. I could hardly believe it myself. He said he and Reber had worked the last bugs out of it. They put a pilot model through production. The line's just about set up for full-scale flow.
Honey's concern with pilot models and production flow is understandably limited at any time. Tonight, after a day of dull domestic chores and practically no human companionship, she is less concerned than ever. If Frank would only take a little personal interest in his attractive wife, what a difference it would make. Truth is, she'd probably settle for a small compliment on the condition of the house or the adequacy of her cooking. A word about her appearance would have a tremendous effect on things. And if the young executive could find time to express a little real affection, he would change the entire atmosphere of the Carson household this evening. But Frank is full of his own problems.
But the big problem is personnel turnover. I suggested that we advertise in the big upstate papers for experienced workers. Naturally, Simpson said it would cost a lot and we probably wouldn't get much return. But you know him. Always looking on the dark side if it isn't his idea. I could see the old man and some of the others thought it might work.
Uh-huh. I hope you like the dinner. I used the new mixer to make your special sauce.
Yeah, sure, it's fine. But you haven't heard anything yet. So Reber told Simpson right in front of everybody, either we get personnel or we're in trouble.
Frank's talk is rather technical, and Honey doesn't actually know the men he spends his days with. But why is Frank reliving his office life at home this evening? Could it be that the meeting didn't go as well as it might have? Were Frank's superiors rather slighting about his ideas? Is he perhaps making stronger arguments now than he did this afternoon? Could be. Maybe if Honey were a little more impressed, Frank's problem of self-assurance would be relieved. He might even think of changing the subject. But then, how understanding can we expect a young wife to be?
You know how Simpson is. Always against everything. And nobody dares speak up to him because he's very close to the old man. But I stuck to it and nobody really definitely turned me down. But that wasn't all. Wait until I tell you what Clark said. What the... Who am I talking to anyway? The wall? Can't you even take a little interest in what I'm telling you?
I was listening, sort of. I just wanted to see something in this magazine.
Do you mean listening, sort of? Either you listen or you don't.
Well, if you really want to know, I was getting pretty tired of hearing about the office. And talking about it steadily ever since you came in that door an hour late. You couldn't even take time to look at me. Whenever I try to tell you what I did during the day, you won't listen for a minute.
I certainly do listen to you. Except when you tell me about something you want to buy, or one of those gossip sessions that are always going on at the beauty shop.
Why, Frank Carson, you know perfectly well I hardly go to the hairdressers anymore. I spend all my time carrying bundles from one supermarket to another trying to save a penny on a bunch of carrots.
I don't see why you can't take a little interest when I talk. Seems to me the least you could do. After all, I work for both of us.
Both of us? Before we were married, you didn't mind my going to the beauty shop. You'd tell me how beautiful I was. You'd brag to your friends how I always look so neat and well-dressed. Now I can't even buy a jar of cold cream without you screaming your head off. I look like a witch. No makeup, these old clothes I have to wear.
Old clothes you have to wear? What was that bill for $27.50 for last month? And those new shoes, and the dozen pair of nylons you buy every week.
What a change. Just 11 months. You're not the same Frank that I married. You were so sweet, so romantic. It was all love then. All you do is complain about the money I spend, the way I arrange the house, the clothes that I buy, every single thing that I do.
Don't put on the tears. I come home dead tired and you have to start crying. Or you're just a silly, inconsiderate ninny. Isn't it possible for you to find some other place to hang out your wet clothes than in our one tiny bathroom? I'm sick and tired of living in a laundry.
Well, that's too bad about you. Get us a decent apartment where I can put out a laundry dryer. Where do you expect me to hang up my clothes? On the bookcase? Or maybe I shouldn't wash them. Maybe I should just throw them out when they're dirty.
Another apartment? We can't even pay the rent on this one. It isn't good enough for you, though. If we had a bigger one, you might be able to buy some more furniture, I suppose. You must want to see me bankrupt. All you ever think about is spending money. Furniture and rent and clothes. Ed Russell says that he hasn't spent as much on furniture in 5 years as we have in just 11 months.
You ungrateful, stingy, bossy, big shot.
Hold it, everybody. What a picture. This would be a fine way to freeze. And yet it's becoming a typical scene of the Carson romance in action. Somebody might say the Carsons didn't like each other anymore. Let's look back at a picture of them taken just before they were married. In those days, Honey thought Frank was wonderful, just because he was so steady, as she put it, about money. And he thought she was adorable, because she always turned up so well groomed when they went out. She would make the perfect wife for a real gentleman, he used to think. A real lady.
Honey would ruin the evening with one of her scenes, and just on a night when we were going out. Maybe I ought to call up and tell them we can't make it. Certainly can't go over there fighting like this. How can I explain now? What'll I say? Guess I better not. If only Honey would be reasonable. I'll talk to her. No, let's face it. When she's in a mood like this, you can't make her understand anything. Maybe I should apologize and make up. Sure, that would work. Why not? No, I'd better not. She'll just think she's completely right as usual, and it's all my fault. Nope, I won't make a move.
What a shame Frank had to go and spoil everything this evening. Just the night I make a special dinner and we're going out, he has to act that way. I wanted to see Francine so much. I'm dying to show her my new coat. Maybe I can bring Frank around. He's had enough time to realize how awful he's been by now. No. Why kid myself? He wouldn't admit he was wrong. He loves scenes. They make him think he's boss. I want to get out of this apartment so much, though. Maybe I should just go in and say I'm sorry and make up. Yes, that's a good idea. But, darn it, if I do that, he'll just think he was completely right as usual. That I really am a gold digger. That I was all wrong. He'd love it. No, I won't. I can't. I won't budge.
Should she? What do you think? Whose move is it? Which one of them is to blame for all this trouble? I can't tell because I know them both so well. Who am I? I'm an old friend. I'm the ring that she picked out and he paid for. Both their names are engraved on my side, separated by the word love. Less than a year ago, I heard them both say, I take you for better or for worse. I've had a bad time tonight. Because I know that the Carsons are really swell people, both of them. I'd like to see them happier in their marriage. How can they break the vicious circle and rediscover the affection and respect they once felt for each other?
So again, if it's a film that has a question in it, and it's related to relationships, the answer is usually no or a negative. So who's right? Neither one of them are right. Yeah, boy, that just 1-2 punches its way all the way through. And there's others that I have in that series that are also equally as, like, whoa, pretty intense. Speaking of wedding rings that are paying attention to everything that you do, here is my wedding ring, which is 8mm, and it's 8mm film sized. Because when we had our jeweler make them, she said, yeah, well, the rings are usually 8mm and they're silver. And I'm like, ooh, 8mm film. So I gave her some leader and she manually punched the little holes. So there you go. Marriage is hard, man, especially when you are like with the person during a pandemic, like almost 95% of the time. It's required a little bit of adjusting because my wife and I both traveled prior to this. Like, at least one of us was gone once a month somewhere, and we got to figure out how to be around each other. So it's a struggle. Good marriages require communication, and not always easy. But there we go. Thanks again for tuning in today. Those of you who missed it, I'm going to go ahead and my wife, who I was just talking about, who I love, she commissioned a friend of ours to write a song that is kind of a remix of Shake Hands with Danger, kind of as done in an 80s disco Rocky Horror Picture Show type of way. So here it is, Shake Hands with Danger, remixed. Everybody have a good rest of your day, and I will be back again tomorrow. I think we're just gonna start doing 1 p.m. sharp. I'm not gonna do this lead up because it's always been confusing, like what time I should start and telling people that, and people always come in late and are upset. So let's just say 1 o'clock we're gonna start this thing, and then it will probably run past 2, but it just seems like it's easier. I don't know why I made it so difficult for myself. I think it's because I used to do sound checks and I showed a film as the sound check, but now the technology is there, so we'll just do it. Or, like what happened yesterday, I did a sound check and then a bulb burned out and it didn't really matter that I'd done a sound check. So anyways, Thanks everybody for your support. If you like, then if there's a like button, hit it, or a share button, do that. Coffee is a great way to reward us when we've been good or when we're bad. AV Geeks is the place to go. Thanks again, and here's the new updated version of Shake Hands with Danger. Enjoy.
Shake hands with danger, meet a man you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. I was young and feisty, never did things by the book. Just let me get my toolbox and I'll take myself a look. I climbed up on a dozier with my mechanic's pride. Said, you can keep it running, friend, while I poke around inside. Shake hands with danger, meet a guy you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. Although I learned a lesson, I forgot it soon enough. The nicks and burns and scratches showed the young ones I was tough. Till another morning I was grinding on some steel. My other hand got careless and fed my skin into the wheel. Shake hands with danger, step right up and say hello. Grinding wheels and metal are what made me Three-Fingered Joe. I've seen mechanics burning and I've seen them take a fall just to save themselves a minute. I've seen them lose it all. I've watched them courting trouble, seen them take a chance and lose. They get careless for a moment and spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with some friends I used to know. Compared to them, I'm lucky to be just Three-Fingered Joe.